All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something, well, pretty out there. It's a brand new theory that basically asks us to rethink everything we know. And I mean everything about light, time, and space. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The central claim of this theory is absolutely wild. It says that light doesn't actually travel at all. It doesn't move from point A to point B. Its arrival is immediate. It just appears. Okay, hold on. Your brain should be screaming, wait a minute right now. Because we all learned in school that it takes sunlight about 8 minutes to get to Earth, right? That's a fact. So, how on earth can light be both instantaneous and take 8 minutes? That's the puzzle we're getting into. Well, this exact contradiction is where this whole new idea gets started. It's a pretty speculative theory called relational admissibility field theory, or just RAF theory for short. And its big idea is that maybe, just maybe, the reality we see and measure isn't the real reality. Here's the key. According to RAF theory, things like space and time aren't fundamental. They're not just out there. Instead, they pop into existence only when we interact with something. So before you measure it, there's no such thing as travel time because there's no such thing as space for the light to travel through. Wild, right? Okay, before we get completely lost down this rabbit hole, let's pump the brakes. Because there is a mountain, a literal wall of scientific evidence that says this whole idea is just completely wrong. I mean, look at this number. We have measured the speed of light with mind-boggling precision. This isn't some guess, it's one of the most fundamental constants in all of physics. It's baked into Einstein's relativity, into how we understand the entire universe. And the evidence for it is everywhere, in things we use every day. Your phone's GPS works because it accounts for the time it takes light signals to travel. We've literally bounced radar signals off other planets and timed the delay. We see supernovas that exploded millions of years ago. The time delay is real. We measure it. It's not up for debate. Now, this is a super important point, because it's easy to get confused here. Mainstream physics, Einstein's relativity, already tells us something strange. For a photon itself, time doesn't pass. Its own clock doesn't tick. But, and this is the key, that's from the photon's point of view. That does not mean it arrives instantly for us. The first idea is totally supported by experiments. The second one, that it's everywhere at once for us, is completely contradicted by them. So what does RA theory have to say about that giant wall of evidence? Well, this is where it gets clever. It doesn't say the experiments are wrong. It says we're misunderstanding what those experiments are actually telling us. It argues we're looking at the whole thing backwards. So the theory brings in this concept called rendered reality. The best way to think about it is like the screen you're looking at right now. You see icons, windows, a cursor, but that's not what's really happening inside the computer, right? That's just a user interface. This theory suggests that space and time are the universe's user interface, something that's rendered for us whenever we try to look at it. So what you have are two layers of reality. There's this deeper, fundamental layer that's just a web of connections, no space, no time as we know it. And then there's our layer, the rendered reality, which is what we see and measure. And in this view, the speed of light isn't really a speed. It's more like the maximum refresh rate of the universe's simulation. It's the fastest that reality can update itself for us. And this brings us to the theory's most provocative claim, a really wild thought experiment. What if you could measure sunlight arriving in, say, 7 minutes instead of 8, without actually breaking the speed of light? The argument goes like this, that 8-minute delay isn't a fundamental property of the universe. It's a property of the relationship between the sun and the normal everyday instruments we use to detect light. So, what happens if you change the instrument? The theory says if you change the observer, you might just change the observation itself. So, how would you do it? How do you get that 7-minute measurement? Well, the theory says it's not about making light go faster. No way. It's about changing the conditions to basically create a better connection between the sun and a very, very specific type of detector. You're shortening the path through that underlying network. Yeah, this maze analogy really nails it. You're not breaking the speed limit. You can only walk so fast. But if you find a secret hallway that cuts straight through the maze, you'll get there faster. The path is just shorter. This theory claims we could build a detector that finds that secret hallway in the fabric of reality. And this would require a completely new kind of machine. See, A normal detector is basically passive. It just sits there and waits for a photon to smack into it. But this theoretical 7-minute detector would be active. We're talking cryogenically frozen, made of exotic crystals, and shaped in some crazy complex way to be perfectly in sync with the sun. And here's the real trick. It wouldn't be measuring the impact of the energy. It would be designed to detect the very first hint that a pattern is forming, like seeing the pixels start to align before the image is fully rendered on the screen. Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture. What does all of this actually mean?
The biggest takeaway, if there's any shred of truth to this, is absolutely mind-blowing. It means reality isn't just something out there for us to find. It might be something we help create every time we look at it. The 8-minute delay from the sun wouldn't be about the light itself, but about the relationship between the sun and us, the observers.
Now look, this is a very speculative theory. It is way out on the fringes. But it leaves us with this incredible, almost philosophical question. It completely blurs the line between the person looking and the thing being looked at. It suggests that how we look at the universe actually changes what the universe is. And if that's true, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other realities are we creating or missing every single day just because of the way we've decided to look at the world?